On April 24, 1990, NASA launched the most powerful space telescope ever built. Then its first images arrived. Blurred. The mirror was almost perfect, but one test instrument had been assembled just 1.3 millimeters wrong. That tiny gap had shaped Hubble's entire mirror incorrectly. $1 billion eye in orbit that couldn't see. Hubble was supposed to remove the atmosphere from astronomy. From the ground, even the clearest night sky is moving. Layers of air bend and smear light before it reaches a telescope. Put an observatory above that turbulence, and distant stars should become sharp points. Galaxies should reveal structures no ground-based instrument could resolve. The idea had taken decades to become hardware. Hubble carried a 2.4-meter primary mirror, 5 scientific instruments, and the expectations of an entire generation of astronomers. It had also survived delays, redesigns, and the grounding of the Space Shuttle fleet after Challenger. By 1990, this was more than another spacecraft. It was a public test of whether NASA could place a precision observatory in orbit and make it work. Discovery lifted off on April 24, 1990. One day later, the crew released Hubble above Earth. The solar arrays opened, the antennas deployed, the telescope was alive. The first weeks were not smooth. Pointing problems and the changing temperature between sunlight and darkness complicated the checkout. Engineers moved Hubble's secondary mirror back and forth, searching for the best focus. On May 20th, the Wide Field and Planetary Camera recorded first light in the star cluster NGC 3532. The public comparison still looked impressive. Even with the hidden defect, the Hubble frame was roughly 50% sharper than the ground-based image beside it. But the engineers were not comparing Hubble with the ground. They were comparing it with the telescope they had designed. Around bright stars, too much light was spreading into a fuzzy halo, and moving the secondary mirror did not make that halo disappear.
The conclusion we've come to from that is that there's a significant spherical aberration appears to be present in the optics, in the optical telescope system optics. Now, some people asked me earlier today, what is spherical aberration?
Spherical aberration meant that Hubble did not have one clean focus. Light striking different parts of the mirror came together at different places. A star that should have been a point became a bright center wrapped in rings and haze. The team first asked whether the problem could be alignment. Hubble's secondary mirror could be moved, tilted, and decentered. None of those adjustments removed the error. Wavefront measurements from multiple instruments showed the same symmetrical pattern. If the secondary mirror were the main cause, investigators expected other distortions, including strong coma. They did not see them. The evidence pointed to the one component that could not be replaced: the primary mirror. On June 27th, NASA told the world that Hubble was flawed. 5 days later, it formed an investigation board to determine not only what had happened, but why nobody had found it on Earth. To understand the failure, start with the job of the mirror. Light enters Hubble's open tube and strikes the large, concave primary mirror. That mirror reflects the light toward a smaller secondary mirror. The secondary sends it back through a hole in the primary and into the scientific instruments. The two mirrors are not simple spheres. Their precise curves are designed so light from across the entire surface arrives at the same focus. Hubble's primary mirror was extraordinarily smooth. The problem was its overall figure. Near the outer edge, the curve was too flat. The physical difference was only about 2.2 microns, around 1/50th the width of a human hair. But that microscopic error was spread across a mirror 2.4 meters wide. The result was brutal. The central portion of the image still carried useful detail, so Hubble could perform some science. But much of the light that should have strengthened fine details was scattered into a halo. The telescope could see, it simply could not see the way it had been promised. A mirror this precise cannot be judged by eye. During polishing, engineers need an optical reference that tells them where glass must still be removed. For Hubble, the final authority was a custom device called a reflective null corrector. An interferometer sent laser light through the corrector and toward the mirror. If the mirror matched the intended shape, the returning light would form a simple, readable pattern. If it did not, the pattern would show where polishing had to continue. The device was not merely checking the mirror, it was defining what correct looked like. That created a dangerous dependency. The manufacturing plan placed complete reliance on this one corrector for the final figure of the primary mirror. The mirror could be made with extraordinary precision, but only relative to the standard placed in front of it. If the standard was wrong, precision would make the mistake more exact. Inside the corrector were two small mirrors and a field lens. Their spacing had to be known with extreme accuracy. Engineers used precision invar metering rods and an interferometer to set those distances. A small cap with a central aperture helped center the laser on the rounded end of a rod. On paper, it was an elegant method. In the test tower, one damaged patch of non-reflective coating changed everything. The investigation board found the reflective null corrector still in the test chamber, unused and apparently unchanged since Hubble's mirror had been completed. That preservation gave investigators a physical record of the mistake. They measured the field lens. It had not been installed backward. The glass itself was correct. Then they measured its position. The lens was approximately 1.3 millimeters too far from the corrector's lower mirror. Calculations showed that this displacement explained both the amount and the character of Hubble's blur. The board could not reconstruct every action with certainty because crucial assembly records were missing, but it reproduced what it considered the most likely scenario. The top of the metering rod had been covered by a field cap. Around the cap's small opening, some non-reflective coating had broken away. During alignment, the interferometer appears to have reflected from that exposed surface instead of the actual rounded end of the rod. The false reflection shifted the reference by 1.3 millimeters. When the field lens was moved toward what operators believed was the correct position, the adjustment screws ran out of travel. Instead of treating that as evidence that the measurement might be wrong, spacers were added so the lens could reach the apparent target. The mechanism was also found not to have been staked as required. The mirror was then polished until the wrong test looked perfect. The most important part is not that a measurement went wrong. Complex hardware produces bad measurements. The deeper failure was that other tests warned the team. An inverse null corrector was designed to imitate a perfect primary mirror. Used with the reflective corrector, it showed spherical aberration that could not be aligned away. Because the inverse corrector was considered less trustworthy, the result was blamed on that instrument. A separate refractive corrector tested the finished mirror. It showed the correct type of error at roughly the correct size. That result was discounted too. The logic sounded reasonable. Trust the most precise instrument. But precision and truth are not the same. Investigators later found that both secondary tests were accurate enough to expose the gross error. Their agreement should have stopped the work. No independent remeasurement verified the critical spacing after assembly. Feasible cross-checks were considered but not performed, and no end-to-end optical test was planned to verify the completed telescope's imaging performance before flight. Hubble was not useless. Its cameras could still resolve many objects better than typical ground-based observations, and some instruments were less effective than others. Engineers also developed computer techniques to sharpen certain images, but that nuance could not rescue the public promise. Hubble had been sold through vision, crisp galaxies, sharp stars, and a clear window beyond Earth's atmosphere. Now its most recognizable product was blur. The phrase Hubble trouble became a punchline. Inside the program, the failure was personal. Years of work had reached orbit, where the primary mirror could not be replaced. The investigation's conclusions went beyond one technician or one damaged coating. Quality personnel had been excluded from critical metrology work. Important records were missing. Discrepant results did not travel beyond a closed group. Cost and schedule pressure discouraged independent checks. The board's central lesson was not simply measure more carefully. It was that a project must identify where one hidden error can destroy the mission, and then build an independent way to catch it. The mirror could not be replaced. It did not need to be. Once engineers knew the exact error, they could design an equal and opposite correction. Like eyeglasses, it would change the light before it reached the detector. The next generation Wide Field and Planetary Camera 2 was redesigned with corrective optics inside it. For Hubble's other instruments, engineers created CoStar, a refrigerator-sized package with 5 pairs of small mirrors on deployable arms. The mathematics was elegant. The execution meant capturing Hubble in orbit, opening it during a spacewalk, and sliding those optics into place by hand.
You can see about 700 miles to 1,000 miles away from you, looking at our home down there. I think that's the first perspective. And surrounding us is an incredible amount of technology, both in the bay, the kind of instruments and things we're fixing on Hubble, but also just looking around at the shuttle vehicle we have here. I think it's a combination.
Endeavour launched on December 2, 1993. The mission carried 7 astronauts and one of the most consequential repair kits ever built. Over 5 spacewalks, totaling more than 35 hours, the crew replaced gyroscopes, solar arrays and electronics, as well as the instruments that would correct Hubble's vision. On the 3rd spacewalk, Jeffrey Hoffman and Story Musgrave removed the original Wide Field and Planetary Camera. The instrument was about the size of a baby grand piano. In weightlessness, it floated, but its mass still made every movement deliberate. They guided WFPC-2 into the empty bay by hand.
Oh, look at that baby. Beautiful, spanking new with Let's take some nice pictures with that.
The next day, Catherine Thornton and Thomas Akers installed CoStar. The hardware was in place. Now, everyone had to wait for the light. The servicing mission could install the solution, but it could not prove that the optics worked. Hubble had to be released, stabilized, and recommissioned. Instruments had to cool. Mirrors inside CoStar had to deploy into the light paths with microscopic accuracy. On the ground, engineers had models, calibration data, and years of testing. None of that could substitute for the first corrected star. When the new camera came online, its point spread image was unmistakable. The broad halo had collapsed. Light that once spilled across the detector was concentrated into a sharp core. In January 1994, NASA released the results. The before and after images of the Galaxy M100 did not require an explanation. On one side was the telescope the world had mocked. On the other was the observatory it had been promised.
Is it?
The repair changed what Hubble represented. A symbol of engineering failure became proof that a complex observatory could be repaired and upgraded in space. WFPC-2 became Hubble's workhorse camera, making more than 135,000 observations before its replacement in 2009. Later instruments carried their own corrective optics, so CoStar eventually became unnecessary. The original mirror never changed. Every celebrated image still began with light striking that imperfect surface. Engineers had simply learned its error precisely enough to design around it. Hubble's flaw is remembered as a 1.3 millimeter mistake, but that number is not the real lesson. A damaged coating caused a false reflection. That misplaced a lens. The lens made the wrong mirror look perfect. And 2 warnings were dismissed because the trusted instrument was supposed to be better. The hardware failed once. The process failed repeatedly. Hubble survived because its designers left one final defense: the ability to change the machine after launch. Its greatest achievement was not perfection. It was recovery from a very human failure.